Hello there, lovely teachers. I'm so excited to make this announcement. I can hardly believe it. This has been in the works, and I think I've been hinting at it since last November or December. It's been a long time coming, and some of you have seen little sneaky peeks and maybe guessed a little bit. But here it is, it's right here. Yes, it's an app. No, it's not a vibrant music teaching app, which some of you may have been expecting, that was like replicating the membership. No, we don't need that. The website is mobile friendly. What we do need, I think, is a new practice app. And that's what I've created. Oh, I cannot wait for you to dive into this. So let me start with where it came from, because I know there are a lot of practice apps out there, okay? I'm not delusional. I don't think I've invented something new. But I've used a lot of them, and none of them are set up quite the way I want them to be. And a lot of them, maybe not all, but a lot of them, weren't created by actual music teachers who do the job, like you do and like I do. And I think they have a certain idea about what we want, and they're not really getting what's really going to work for us, at least for me, and I hope for many of you as well, who have the same qualms I do about some of the other apps. So, let me tell you the things that I wanted to do differently with this app, and you can see if you resonate. The first thing, the biggest thing that was really what drove me to finally pull the trigger and start the whole app development process, which is a huge undertaking, is the extra clicks. And I know that sounds small, but it's not small. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of your time. And it's just bad user design. It's not good design. Designs should not get in your way. They should help you. And I was finding with all the other apps that I had to click so many times to do common things that we do all the time in lots of different lessons throughout the week. And it's wasting either the lesson time, so, I'm distracted for a second because I have to do that in the app or on the web portal, and I have to click just to remove their assignment or whatever I want to do. Or you end up doing that outside of the lesson time. And now you're into extra office admin, and I don't like that either. Neither is a good solution. I want something that I can do the minimum amount of effort during the lesson to keep things up to date in the way that music teachers need to do all the time, like finishing off with assignments, checking them off the list, adding new assignments, that kind of stuff. It needs to be quick. So that was my first rule. No extra clicks. And anytime the app developers ended up having an extra checkbox or something that I didn't think was absolutely necessary, I told them to get rid of it. One click wherever possible. Number 2, no gamification. And I know you might be thinking, what? No gamification? Aren't you all about games? I am. I'm about real physical games and digital games for learning stuff. What I'm not all about is the kind of gamification which means like making things like a video game, because it's really a reward system. And when we train our students to think that they need a reward for their practice, when that reward gets taken away, they stop practicing because they've been taught, I practice so that I get the little thingamajig in my app or whatever I'm getting. And that's not the reason we want them to practice. We want them to practice because they want to get better, because they enjoy making music, all those things. So while those reward systems, whatever way they're set up, while they work in the short term, and many teachers join one of these apps and they think, this is amazing, my students are exploding with practice. And I've had some students like that with me, but it fades. Maybe it fades in a month, sometimes a year and a half, but it does fade, and the practice falls off a cliff. It's worse than it was when you started. So I haven't included any gamification, and if you're a teacher that loves that, that's great, more power to you. I'm all about teachers making choices. I don't think you're wrong, it's just not the way I want to do it. And so if you're kind of in my camp and you've had that experience, rest assured that's not going to crop up in our practice app. Number 3 is research-based, evidence-based practice strategies. So our app, when you start practicing, I'll show you briefly here, but you can watch a tour on the site as well. When you hit the practice mode, you see these 4 different practice options. So we have block practice, which is the most basic form where you just check things off a list. And that's how most other apps do it. And I still want to have that mode because it's the simplest and it's effective for especially beginner students. But we also have interleaved mode to get students to interleave their practice. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up on our site. We have focus mode where you're just focusing on one thing for when you just have a few minutes and you just want to do one item. And then we have Pomodoro to really mix things up as well and include breaks in their practice. So these different practice modes encourage students to not just think about the time that they're practicing. Yes, there is a timer going and, we need to put in the minutes to get somewhere, but we also need to think about how we structure our practice and what we're really doing with that time. So these modes encourage students to really do that. Number 4 then was to encourage routine. So the first couple of times students log into the app, they're encouraged to set up their routine, and then they can do it at any stage after that in their settings. It's a system of reminders. So they have the days of the week, and then they can set a time of day they want to practice and turn it on for particular days of the week. That will then send a notification to their phone or their parents' phone, if that's what they're using, at that time to remind them to practice. Now it is about the notification, that's great, but it's not as much about that as it is about setting the intention of when they're going to practice. If they keep that routine updated and they have that discussion with their parents and you encourage them to do that and maybe get them to bring their device into lessons to do it together, you keep that conversation open and you get people to pre-commit. We're going to practice at 4:30 on Thursdays. And actually sit down and think about the times. That's often the biggest barrier to parents assisting students with practice, is they need to have that conversation and really figure it out, not figure it out as they go through their busy days every day. Okay, and finally, this is the least important, but it is important to me, which is I wanted it to be pretty, beautiful, well-designed, clean, simple, modern, bright, of course, because it's something from me, but in a modern way that is not distracting, no extra fluff going on, but it's nice to look at. Because honestly, even if I reduce as many clicks as possible, you're going to spend some time inside this website. If you're going to use it to organize assignments, you have to organize the assignments. You're going to spend some time doing that. So, it should be beautiful. That should just be a given now, right? So I hope you'll agree that it's beautiful. You can go over and check out the tour and let us know if you have any questions about how we're doing things. But what I'd really recommend you do is just test it out, because the thing I haven't told you yet is that it's free for you to test out. When we started this process, I was thinking, do we do a trial? Do we do this? Do we do that? Because I know the teacher will need to test it. They're not going to just roll it out to students and pay for the whole plan. That's not going to work. And we decided to give you a free account for as long as you want with one student. So you can properly test it out, okay? So you can set up that student as yourself so that you can test it with yourself, or just have one student, maybe your own kid or one long-term student that you want to test it with, and just use that for as long as you want until you get used to it. And then when you're ready to upgrade, you can. But you can take your time testing all the features, making sure it's right for you, using it with one student in particular, or just with yourself, as I said, and assigning yourself practice assignments, and see if this is the right fit for you. Not every practice app is right for every teacher, but I believe truly that a practice app is the right way to go versus printing out assignments, Google Docs, that kind of thing. I do think these tailored solutions are an ideal fit for most teachers and students. I think it is the way we're going to go because it's so handy and you can easily see what they're doing and you don't need to print 2 copies of anything, all that stuff. But you have to find the right one for you. So check this one out, see if it's the right one for you. It's called Vivid Practice and you can find it at vividpractice.com.